Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2024 movie titled Chief of Station. Please be advised that there might be spoilers ahead. The movie opens in Budapest, Hungary, with CIA agents Ben Malloy and John Branca on a covert mission to apprehend a mole working with the Russians. Shortly, the target arrives and it turns out that a Russian agency, FBS, is also after the same target. With this, Ben decides to lay low as the Russians under the command of Yevgeny try to pursue the target. Amidst the turmoil, the information intended to acquire slips out of both the agencies. Following the botched mission, Yevgeny recognizes Ben and the two have a brief talk in which Yevgeny wishes Ben success on his upcoming anniversary. That night, Ben and his wife, Farah, had planned to meet at a restaurant for dinner. Before meeting her, Ben made sure to buy her a rose. Farah was already waiting for him, and upon his arrival, they decided to proceed to their booked venue. Before leaving, Farah wanted to say goodbye to her friend, so she requested Ben to go ahead while she went inside. Shortly, there was an explosion in the exact place where Farah had gone. In the aftermath of the bomb explosion, it was learned that Farah had passed on. 6 months after his wife's death, Ben has yet to recuperate from the loss. He often got visions of his wife everywhere he looked. Ben, on the other hand, thought it was all an accident. His wife, like many others on that day, was a victim, therefore he chose to mourn her death rather than investigate more. However, he was later summoned to his agency for consultation. They stated that Farah's involvement was owing to a man named Karen, who had previously murdered a NATO agent. Ben couldn't take these accusations. He was prepared to retaliate against the person who slandered his wife's name. To him, Farah was more than simply a wife, life partner, and mother to his son. She was also a longtime CIA colleague. They had been comrades for years and knew each other well, so he never suspected his wife had ties to the terrorist. She was a dependable agent, not a double-crosser. A buddy told Ben to be calm because no one is flawless, and Farah may have had secrets he was unaware of. Regardless of what anyone said, Ben would never think his wife was a CIA mole. When Ben arrived home that evening, he immediately began research on his computer for information about Karen, but he found nothing useful. The next day, when Ben got to work, he encountered someone who introduced himself as Jackson. Ben had no idea who this guy was, but Jackson pretended they were longtime friends. Ben realized that his badge had been put on security restrictions, and he had no access to the building levels. With this, only Jackson could help him access the building, and Ben couldn't reject the offer. Jackson claimed to be an old workmate with Farah and wanted to help him uncover the secrets behind her death. Ben's ID is currently disabled pending an investigation, but with Johnny's help, they were able to scan for the faces of several suspected individuals who had been in the area where Farah was killed. They were all CIA operatives, and Jackson believed it was only a coincidence. After that, Jackson scanned Ben's computer for recent intruders or anyone tampering with his system. However, verification would take several days. During the waiting period, Ben had planned to visit his son Nick in Paris, but he was currently unavailable, so they arranged to meet in 4 days instead. That night, Ben thought about Farah and remembered their dinners together. She gave him a charm bracelet and told him it was a lucky charm, so he should always wear it and never take it off. Of course, Ben had no reason to resist her, but he had no idea it would be his final gift from his wife. During the waiting period, Ben decided to travel to Budapest to visit his old pal, John, who was also a CIA agent. Ben told John about his research on Farah's death, asking for support, but John appeared unconcerned. He stated that he did not agree with the investigation's findings, but they were waiting for more definitive evidence. Ben then visited Hitchin, who had previously worked with Farah, and asked for assistance in researching her demise. Hitchin couldn't provide much assistance, but she did give Ben some money and a name, Yevgeny, Ben's old opponent. She stated he might shed light on everything because, based on what she discovered, Yevgeny's tech team had been monitoring Farah and could be linked to this. That lead was all Ben had at the time. With cash in hand, Ben boldly hails a taxi to Yevgeny's casino. He tipped his way in, making it easy to go into Yevgeny's casino. Yevgeny understood Ben wasn't there to play roulette. Yevgeny appeared uneasy and eager to get Ben out as soon as possible, so after winning Ben around, he asked him to leave. However, Ben wasn't there to gamble, but to learn the truth about his wife's death. Yevgeny's henchmen came out and confronted Ben with their fists. However, these part-time hired goons had little chance against the former CIA director and station chief in Europe. Ben subdued them with a few rapid movements. One of them pointed a gun at Ben's head, but Ben quickly disarmed him and neutralized the threat. However, they managed to outnumber him. Following a skirmish, Yevgeny's men surrounded Ben on all sides and threatened him to submit. When Ben regains consciousness, he believes Yevgeny's men were responsible for his wife's death, but Yevgeny disputes this. At this time, Yevgeny shows Ben a video and claims that, while someone in the tape resembles him, they are not his people. It turned out that Karen was present, but Yevgeny denied him working for FBS. Shortly, they got attacked by an unknown force. The attackers were numerous and almost entirely destroyed Yevgeny's crew. He recognized the person who had shot him and told Ben to flee immediately. Ben had no idea who these guys were or who they wanted to assassinate, but spotting the firearms, he fled and contacted John for help. He jumped into a car for cover. This gang of people, however, continued to pursue Ben closely. Fortunately, Ben was able to start the car and drive away. However, due to high speed, the vehicle toppled. Ben was fortunate to flee the car unscathed, just as the assassins approached and continued to shoot at him. Fortunately, John arrived in time. They immediately rushed into the car and drove away. Ben couldn't understand why John arrived so quickly when he called. However, in this situation, he did not doubt his teammate. John led Ben to his yacht, describing it as a safe home where Ben might temporarily hide to evade the recent assassination attempts. Ben didn't ask for anything. He simply felt fortunate to have such a devoted friend prepared to risk everything for each other. Meanwhile, back at Nick's house, Ben's son and his girlfriend are still happy. However, as soon as his girlfriend left, he was confronted by several men dressed in black. They introduced themselves as Ben's colleagues and offered to safely accompany Nick home to meet his father. Nick suspected something was awry because he and his father had planned to meet in the coming few days. Nick first refused to attend, but when confronted with a gang of threatening armed guys, he reluctantly followed. When they arrived at the safe house, they claimed Ben was inside, and that Nick could see him. However, Nick sensed dishonesty. He tried to elude them, but his plan failed effortlessly. Nick, feeling unable to resist, unwillingly followed them inside. Meanwhile, after putting Ben on the boat, John attempted to be nice by asking if Farah gave him anything before she died. Ben did not hide anything. In fact, Farah's death was so unexpected that Ben didn't believe she had given him anything. When John realized his approach wasn't working, he shifted tactics. He led Ben into a secluded chamber, a torture room. Ben came upon the pursuer from before and realized he had fallen into a trap. But given their number, he had no choice but to obey. John strapped Ben to a chair, inserted a needle into his finger, and tortured him. Ben had excruciating pain as a result of the torture. He became unconscious, but John revived him and continued the torment. He insisted that Ben reveal what Farah had given him before her death. Seeing Ben's stillness, he received word that his son had been safely returned. So he turned his emphasis and threatened Ben that if he didn't confess, they'd hurt his son. When John left, Karen, who had earlier attacked Ben, reappeared. He would continue to torture Ben. Ben glared at him and swore he would personally bring him down, while the man boasted about how not even a resurrected God could save him. Then, unexpectedly, a gunman with a powerful disruptive force broke in. Without saying much, this person effectively cleaned them all out. She revealed her plans of helping Ben escape. The two made their way upstairs where a fight ensues. After the hard engagement, they hurriedly boarded a canoe and left. Once on land, Ben discovered that his savior, Christina, was working alongside Farah on this covert operation. Even John was a member of their team. Their group was made up of 7 people, but when John betrayed them, 6 of them died, including Farah. Christina revealed that Farah had given Ben the family handprint before she died. This was Farah's secret key. Christina didn't have the key, but she knew where it should be used. Ben recalled that Farah had handed him a necklace. It turned out to be the key. Perhaps she trusted him to keep it secure. That is where Farah had placed the classified documents pertaining to a money laundering case involving some unscrupulous individuals in the EU. Hence, those records were critical. They intended to retrieve the paperwork and then save their kid, Nick. They eventually arrived at room 117. Ben used Famila's handprint to open the door. Inside the room, there were only the objects Farah had left behind. However, the most crucial aspect was her computer. When they checked it, they discovered evidence of John's and even the CIA deputy director's questionable activities. That is why they needed these things to obliterate any evidence of their misconduct. Ben was astonished to learn his wife's secret. He was really sad that she had kept everything from him. Perhaps she didn't trust him, but Christina said that she did it to protect him and their son. She recognized John's genuine face and knew she would be attacked. That is why she gave Ben the key to complete what she had begun. Ben intended to use this information to save Nick, but Carrie warned him that doing so would render Farah's sacrifice useless. Of course, given his character, either he nor his son would be spared. Finally, they devised a fresh plan. Ben called John and arranged an exchange meeting for the information in exchange for Nick. Then, with Christina, he planned to meet John at an abandoned factory. When Ben arrived, he went inside alone, while Christina went around to the outside stairs. She set her rifle at a perfect spot while Ben met John and his team. When all sides met, the negotiation went easily, and each party received what they required. However, as Christina predicted, when John received the evidence, he was dissatisfied. He wanted to tie up loose ends, so he directed his men to assassinate Ben and his son. Fortunately, with Christina hidden on the rooftop, she acted first, allowing them to escape unhurt. John noticed a sniper and identified the target, aiming the gun directly at her. However, he failed to hit the target. While he was shooting at Christina, Ben grabbed the bag, disarmed one of the men and ran back to the car. However, John and Karen rushed into their car and pursued them. They pursued and fired at the two fiercely. Ben used his expert driving skills to dodge their gunfire and lure them into a dark warehouse where they couldn't see their target. Then he told Nick to return fire. Nick wasn't a professional agent, but his father had taught him some fundamental techniques, so he shot fairly effectively. However, driving like this wasn't ideal, so Ben intentionally slowed down so they could catch up. Then he took them along a narrow path. When they encountered an impediment, Ben unexpectedly accelerated, pushing them to pursue recklessly. They were so enraged that they only noticed Ben and his son's car and collided with a barricade. However, John immediately leaped out before the disaster occurred. However, Karen was trapped in the destroyed car and was unable to flee. Before his death, he couldn't stop bragging about killing Farah. As a result of his achievement, he received a shot from Nick, which accelerated his journey. Ben decided to turn around because John hadn't been defeated yet. Here he confronted John. At first, John had been tied up, but Ben utilized his years of experience working with him to exploit his weakness and attack. So, with a few hits, Ben had completely subdued John. With sufficient proof, John will face a lengthy prison sentence. The scene shifts to the deputy director of the CIA, who was standing on the podium giving a statement on the honor of serving the country. Shortly, everyone receives a pop message concerning the illicit activities of the deputy director. He tries to deny the accusations, but Yevgeny enters to give proof on the accusations. He is subsequently arrested and taken to face the law. In the final scene, Ben gets to meet Veronica, Nick's girlfriend, and Ben congratulates Nick on his new I.T. job in the CIA. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.